So I'm a little suspect on why the ceiling in the garage was taken down. These folks have lived there for 8 years and they have no discussion on their disclosure of why they took down this ceiling. It looks to me like it was taken down more recent than 8+ years ago. I suspect there's water stains. So I suspect that water got on here, and there's even like some, what appears to be some kind of fungal growth. More water damage. But above this garage is a flat top roof that's a patio. So I suspect that leaked. But of course there's no mention of it on the disclosure, so I'm a little nervous about that. And I'm just zeroing in a little bit on some of the details here. This is pretty consistent throughout the house. It does appear that the folks that lived there are not very clean, and perhaps we're a little hard on things. Anything that's been painted looks obviously okay, but anything that's not painted does look a little grimy. Of course, you've got plaster walls. I would expect to see some cracking, but I just want to be sure that you see that these are not flawless walls by any means. That was a patch of some sort, probably from accessing the shower head because the tub's on the other side. That access door, I believe, gets you into the back of the tub. Interesting toilet there. It's like a two-piece. This tile is that dated 4x4. The look of the discussion there on that handle and the black tiles behind it tell me that that was probably a repair and patch job. I don't know why there was water sitting in the bottom of this tub, but I went ahead and let it go. Something I'm pointing out here too is you can tell around the drain shoe there and also around the overflow that it's been painted. This tub has a painted surface on it, which is okay, but could pose a problem if the paint wasn't done well. Just showing you here I'm really into clean edges in these houses, especially this price point, and there's just not a lot of clean edges in here. So I was just showing you kind of more of that. This is obviously at one time it was supposed to be a ceramic rod, but apparently that broke, so they replaced it with wood. This vanity, once they got it in there, they realized, oops, I can't get the register back on. Like this furniture, like this vanity is pretty dirty. That's how I know that they're kind of dirty people. Water pressure checks out. The doors in these older houses, I like to see, especially on the second floor, how those doors close. This door definitely had an issue. I was able to eventually get it closed, so it just might be, needing to tighten up a hinge or two, or maybe the door is just a little off, just needs adjusted, because the rest of the doors actually closed pretty good. That was the only one that had a problem. I do think there's a lot of DIY work done in this house. I don't see much for professional work. And you can just tell that in the quality of the paint job and in some of the craftsmanship of the work that has been completed, especially the finish work. I didn't, now that I think about it, look at the panel downstairs. I got a little interrupted because somebody came in and started a showing, so I needed to pop my head upstairs and didn't finish that downstairs. There is three-prong, oh, just some more paint missing from the door. Again, just some of that hard living that I think probably has happened in this place. But the outlets upstairs are three-prong, but which would lead me to think that perhaps the wiring has been updated. But it's possible too, they just put a three-prong outlet on a two-wire system, so I'm not sure if it's been updated or not. There was nothing about the electrical being updated on the disclosure. Hinges need adjusted here on these cabinets too. You do kind of have to close them at the same time to get them to shut square. And these doors here, I mean, there's an example of the paint job. So a professional would have caulked that out. They would have had nice clean edges. They would have done a better prep job. That is not in this house. So most definitely, I think we've got the homeowner's painting. There's also like paint on the hardware. The hinges, of course, but also even on the escutcheons, or I think they're called rose plates on the back of the doorknobs. Hardwood floors throughout the house look really great. They've got a little bit of a lived-in feel to them, of course, but they are in good shape. I don't see any stains or any kind of even patches of repairs, anything cut in. The windows, about half of them throughout the house, I'd say, are still the old sash windows with the pulley and weight system that opens and shuts those. These particular windows have chipping paint on them. I was just pointing that out. But of all of the windows that are the wooden sash windows, I'd say maybe one or two of them open. The rest of them do not open. They're all painted shut and look like they've been painted shut for quite some time. This is a cool deal that you can walk out from the primary onto this deck, like the deck top type space. This is above the garage. And remember, we saw downstairs in the garage, the roof, the ceiling apparently was taken off here, what I think is more recently than the last 8 years. And I do think that there is an issue with potentially some water having come in previously from this surface. It is kind of notorious for that. I think what they've got underneath these tiles, these plastic tiles, is like an EPDM roof, which is kind of a commercial grade flat roof material, rubber flat roof. Well, I don't even know if it's rubber, but anyway, it's great for this application. And that space back there, I do think that there's probably a water drainage issue back there. I don't see where the water would be moving away from the property in such a way to not cause future issues. And there is a lot of concrete cracked up back there and some obvious movement. That is what I believe is a repair to the roof surface. And that's why I feel like that further validates that there was probably an issue since these folks have lived in the home, and that is why the ceiling in the garage has been torn down. Primary bathroom here. They did a real good job with picking some of the finish selections. The design's neat. But it is definitely, from what I can tell, a DIY job. We've just got some cracked up grout here at the entry. And these tiles, it looks like the grout is all a mess in between the tiles, but it's actually just the design of the tile is like a wavy edged, not straight cut tile. So there's a profile there around that edges out around the window framing, and they did a poor job of that. It's not well installed. Waterproofing in a wet area like this is super important, and most people, especially DIYers, don't get it right. So I am concerned about the waterproofing that is or is not behind this tile. And then I'm checking the corners too to see if there is grout in the corners or if there's silicone, because those corners are considered movement joints. They will definitely move, which means that grout will crack out. So it would eventually need to be replaced with silicone. It's got a linear drain here. Sometimes the linear drains have a hard time keeping up with drainage, so I was just checking it to see if maybe it'd been cleaned, but I couldn't get it up. There's that window in the shower too. I am concerned about the shower sill, that would be an easy place for water to intrude behind the tile system and eventually kind of mold and rot out things. But again, I'm just kind of paranoid about tile showers, especially when they're not done by professionals. This is another vanity that's kind of beat up a little bit. It's just a little dirty. Can't really tell that very well in the video. You know, the backsplash here is basically the wood tile, or excuse me, the wood trim, wainscoting. So not ideal either for wet surfaces like countertops or on sinks, but that door frame, I don't think you could tell very well, but was not very well. It's kind of beat up paint. It's been chipped. Obviously, you got a window air conditioner in this upstairs level. I'm not surprised. A lot of times, I'm just showing you more like dirty finish here. Like that's a lot. Some of that, most of that was dirt. And this entire upstairs looks like it's DIY'd. The corners and the edges are not crisp and square as far as, you know, a tight fold in the drywall, for example, in the that follow the angles up there. I'm not sure if that's just a bad paint job, if somebody had a hard time getting their paintbrush in there, or if it's actually like previous water issue. There's definitely like sloppy drywall work here. That wall's all sorts of like wavy where the side wall meets the ceiling. I'm not even sure what that was, but so I'm pretty particular about that stuff, especially with you being out of state. So I want to make sure that I'm pointing out everything, because I don't want to not point those things out and then have you guys come and realize, well, this isn't what I thought it was. So I do try to show out all those details. We're now in the lower level in the basement. The only water intrusion that they talked about in the basement was, on the disclosure, is that when the garage has snow melt from the vehicles, that water got in at the ceiling between the garage and the basement. And that may be, but what's not included in the video that got deleted is that there's definitely large, like 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch large gaping gaps between like the concrete patio and the house, the foundation. Water is just absolutely shooting down there and filling that up, creating hydrostatic pressure behind these walls. I didn't see any cracks in the exposed foundation walls that were down there that were alarming to me at all. It didn't even seem like it's been a fresh paint job, so I can't even say that maybe they're there and they just recently covered it up. But there is a lot of things down there. So really getting a good visual of the walls is impossible. And right there, I'm looking at what is likely some water damage where the ceiling meets the wall. Just a lot of stuff. It was really difficult to really like look at anything in the basement because of all of the stuff.